Hey guys, we are moving on to a new unit today called quadratic functions, okay? Just like when we did functions back in the fall, we will start out by learning to graph them, okay? If you noticed on your Quizlet account, there is a new vocabulary list, and there's quite a few new words, okay, that we'll need to go over and you all will need to remember, all right? So, basically, I also, yes, I'm at school today filming this. I was hoping that the internet would be faster here than it is at my home because I actually don't have internet at home. But anywho, also my graph is here. Anyway, okay, so a quadratic function creates a graph in the shape of a parabola, which is a U shape, okay? So basically, I'm going to do a rough sketch for you. Rough sketch would be something like this, okay? All right. And now, if you have a positive leading coefficient, as in like this one right here, it opens upward. If you have a negative leading coefficient, like say negative 2x squared, it would open downward, okay? All right. Now, we're going to graph these today, and typically when we graph things, we create a table of values, okay? There is one thing that will make it easier, so we don't just have to come up with a bunch of different table of values, and that is the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is the x value that cuts the graph in half. So the axis of symmetry here would probably be somewhere right about here. As you can see, it cuts it in half. And down here, let's see here, right about there, it cuts it in half right there, okay? So, what we're going to do is we are going to find the axis of symmetry using the equation, and then create a table of values, and then graph that table of values, okay? All right. So, the axis of symmetry has an equation. It's negative b over 2a, okay? And we have our example here, 2x squared minus 4x minus 5, okay? If you recall from last unit, this is a trinomial, right? Where this is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, or minus c, it doesn't really matter. So that being said, this is my a term, that's my b term, that's my c term. So what I do is I take the numbers from this and plug them in to find my axis of symmetry, or the axis that cuts the graph in half, okay? So let me plug my numbers in. So the formula is negative b over 2a. So in this case, negative b, so it's going to end up being negative 4, okay? Because the formula is negative b, I then have to plug in, I take the sign with the number, and it goes right there, okay? Over 2a, so 2 times 2, okay? Now I just simplify it. So I end up with negative 4 is going to be positive 4, and then 2 times 2 is 4, okay? So my my axis of symmetry is 1. Okay? That is the x value that I will need. Okay. Now I can go about creating a table of values. Okay? So to do that, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go over to this side. I'm going to use this to pick a few points, okay? What I want to do is I want to pick some points that are less than 1 and some that are greater than 1, okay? So, I'm going to erase this real quick and write over my x's and my y's. All right. I'm going to put my 1 right here, and then I'm going to do a couple below that, so I would have 0 and -1. And then a couple above that, so that would be 2 and 3. Now, just like we did when we graphed linear functions, we are going to take each value, plug it into our equation, and see what we get. So, I'm running out of room here. Let me do my work over here. So for the first one, I will take 2 times -1 squared minus 4x, 4 times -1 minus 5. Okay? And what I end up with there is +1, because -1 squared is 1 times 2. Okay? 2, and then minus this will be 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay. 0, I do again 2 times 0 squared minus 4 times 0 minus 5. And what I end up with there is going to be -5. Okay. At 1, because I know that's my vertex, that will be the bottom point of the parabola. And if I plug it in, I end up with -7. And again, you would take 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 minus 5. Okay? Then I go to 2, I plug it in, and I end up with -5. Okay? And then I plug in 3 and I get 1. If you notice, there's a pattern here. Okay? So I have my vertex, and then if I go below that, it goes -5, 1. If I go above that, it goes -5, 1. So really, you don't even have to solve it for these points, okay? As long as they are only 1 point, so from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, I don't skip any points or any numbers, it will be exactly the same. So it will be -7, -5, 1, and -5, +1, okay? All right, so now I can go ahead and graph this. Okay, so I'll start out with -1, 1, which is right here. Okay, 0, -5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, -7, 5, 6, 7. And then I have 2, -5, and 3, 1, which is right here. Okay, and I can draw my curve. My U is shaped. Sorry, there's a line there. Crease makes it hard to draw. Okay, and that's how I do this. Okay, so again, you find your axis of symmetry, and then you use that to generate some points for your table of values. Work out at least a couple of them, and then copy them over on the other side, and then you can graph it. Okay. Now again, my axis of symmetry is at +1. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. That's my axis of symmetry right there. Okay. So today what you're going to have to do is I'm going to give you a few problems. You'll have to graph them. Just do the best you can to sketch out a graph. I know, try to, use a ruler, draw straight lines. I know if you have graph paper at home, that's great. If you don't, just do the best you can. As long as I can read it and it looks mostly right, I'll count it as correct. Okay? That's all for today. You may go ahead and start your assignment.